Hey, what's going on everybody? Today I'll be showing you how to replace the rear brake pads on a 2014 Volkswagen Beetle. So let's get started. As far as tools and parts, obviously you're going to need the brake pads. And on these Beetles there are two different styles of brake pads that I know of. This is this one right here, and that's what that brake pad looks like. But the best thing to do is call your dealership and give them your VIN number, and that's going to tell you exactly which brake pads you need. Next we have a 17mm socket with a ratchet to get the wheel off, but you could also use the wrench inside of the spare tire kit if that's what you have. We have some anti-seize right here, and that's going to be for the ears on the brake pad right here. We have some brake parts lubricant. That's going to be for the slides on the piston, or I'm sorry, the caliper. And then these two are not absolutely necessary, but I have a pocket screwdriver and some silicone spray. And this is just for a little trick that I learned throughout the years to keep the boot from bubbling up when you're retracting the piston. But like I said, not absolutely necessary, but it is a good thing to have. I've got a rag right here to clean off the slides, a flashlight to check the fluid level in the reservoir, and then some kind of syringe to remove fluid if necessary. I have some ratcheting wrenches right here. I have a 13 and a 15. Ratcheting is going to make your job a lot easier. Let's see, we have the piston retraction tool, and this is going to line up with the piston, and you're going to spin that piston in. Now I have the whole kit right here. I picked it up at Harbor Freight for I think $20 or $30. Has all kinds of attachments for various vehicles. Now, if you don't want to buy the whole kit, you can probably go to your local parts store and rent just this. You're going to need a floor jack and at least one jack stand, and you're going to jack it up underneath the car right here and then place the jack stand right there. Get the wheel off the ground. Also, before you get the wheel off the ground, you want to loosen the lug bolts so that when you get it in the air, they are easy to spin and get off. And if you have a lift like me, you're spoiled. Easy to lift the car up. Go ahead and open your hood. First thing you want to do is make sure that your brake fluid level is not at the maximum mark. If it's at the maximum mark, when we decompress the pistons in the caliper, the fluid could overflow out of the reservoir. So what I like to do is take a flashlight, put it on the reservoir, and I can tell exactly where the level's at. You want to make sure the level is, I don't know, about 1 centimeter or 5 millimeters below the maximum mark. And if you need to remove some of that fluid, what I do is I take a syringe like this and just adjust it accordingly. Everything that I show you on this side is identical for the other side, so just apply what you learn right here to the other side. So now you're going to take both of your wrenches, starting with your 15, and you're going to put it on the slide right there. Then you're going to take your 13 with the ratcheting side, place it on the bolt, have it in the loosening position, so you're going to be pulling down with the 13 and pushing up with the 15. And then you're going to take that bolt all the way out. And then you're going to move up to the top over here and do the same thing. And just a quick tip, on the passenger side, you want to start with the bottom one and then do the top one. On the driver's side, it's going to be the exact opposite. You're going to start with the top and then do the bottom one. And the reasoning for that is if I start with the top one, take that bolt all the way out, and then I do the bottom one, the caliper is going to want to start to fold on me. So that's the only reason for that. Now you're just going to loosen the caliper. So just wiggle it back and forth, and then your pads will fall out just like that. Next, I'm going to remove the slide pins and then grease them up. So I'll do one at a time. Take it over to my rag. Take all the old grease off. And just put some new grease on there. Doesn't take a whole lot, just a nice thin film. And then put that pin right back in. And then do the same thing for the bottom one. And then that little trick that I was talking about earlier to keep the boot from twisting or swelling up while you're spinning the piston back in. I don't know if you can see, but I've got my pocket screwdriver right there lifting the boot up. And then I'm just going to spray a little bit of silicone spray. And that's going to help that slide easier. Right here I have my retracting tool set up. So you can see that plate kind of acts like a brake pad right there. And then I'm going to screw this in, and it's going to twist that piston in. And to screw these ones in, these ones are clockwise. And this part's going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see that the boot is protruding past the piston right there. That's because when I screwed it in, that boot held a little bit of air behind it, or pressure behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get back behind that boot again and get that pressure from out of there, and then that boot will sit lower than the piston. And I don't know if you can really see on camera, but I have released that pressure and everything is nice and flush now. If you have a lot of brake dust debris or rust on the carrier right here, you can take a wire brush and just simply scrape that off. Next, we're going to apply our anti-seize to the ears of the brake pads. And you're going to go ahead and do this for all four. And it doesn't take a lot at all, just a little bit. Just like that. And then before we put the brake pads on, we're going to take this film off. And this film is protecting a sticky sticker right here, and that's just going to help the brake pad stay in place once you put it in. All four of these brake pads are identical, so there's no directional brake pad or any differences from inside to outside. So you're just going to take the pad, and literally it just sits on the carrier, just like that. So go ahead and put the outside pad on, and then the inside pad, and then we're going to put the caliper back on top of the pads. So putting the caliper back on, we want to go on as straight as possible so that we have those springs in the right spots. And then you're going to have to press in the slides just a little bit. And then you just start the bolts by hand. Looking at both of the springs through that peephole right there, I can see that the springs are correct. So you don't want one of the springs popping through that hole. You want it pressed down by the caliper. Go ahead and tighten both of those bolts up using your wrenches. And this time it doesn't matter which one you do first. Go ahead and put your wheel back on, tighten the bolts down by hand, and then when you lower the vehicle onto the ground, you can torque them down. And then the most important step is to pump up your pedal. And you're going to do that until it's a firm pedal. Now what this is doing is making the piston push back out and touch the brake pads. And then the very last step is to set your fluid level at the maximum mark. Now that might require removing or adding. And if you have to add fluid, you're going to use .4 fluid. You guys already know I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Please hit that subscribe button, leave me some comments. If you're a subscriber already, maybe turn on that notification bell. Until next time, you guys. Peace.